Things have certainly taken a dramatic turn in global trade and politics, as U.S. President Donald Trump once again sparks controversy with his bold moves. This time he's gone further than anyone anticipated by announcing a significant expansion of tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. The tariffs, a hefty 25% on steel and additional taxes on aluminum, are aimed at protecting American industries, but they have sent shockwaves across the globe. This isn't just a replay of previous trade restrictions, but an intensification of them. Trump's announcement has reverberated around the world, particularly in countries that are key trade partners to the U.S., such as the European Union and Canada. Both of these countries together account for over $550 billion in imports of American goods each year, and now they're facing hefty tariffs that could affect their economies. For these nations, retaliating against the tariffs may have significant repercussions, possibly causing disruption in industries and businesses across the U.S. But the stakes were raised even higher when, in an eyebrow-raising interview with Fox News, Trump took things a step further by suggesting that Canada should become the 51st state of the United States. He argued that Canada was losing $200 billion a year in trade with the U.S. and suggested that the country would be better off economically if it merged with the U.S. Trump's words were not just a casual remark. He directly questioned why the U.S. should continue to protect Canada without receiving enough in return, particularly in terms of military spending. The suggestion was met with immediate backlash from Canadian leaders. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau quickly condemned the proposal, calling it an insult to the deep historical ties between the two countries. Trudeau emphasized Canada's sovereignty, pushing back against the notion of absorption into the U.S. What followed was a unified opposition across Canada's political spectrum, as politicians from various parties rallied against the remarks. The idea was seen as not just a political stunt, but as an outright challenge to Canada's independence. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh didn't hold back, proposing a bold countermeasure, a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles. His reasoning? Elon Musk, a prominent ally of Trump, has been outspoken in supporting Trump's economic policies, and Singh felt it was time to push back against what he perceived as an unfair approach. But he didn't stop there. He also pushed for a comprehensive program to boost Canada's own electric vehicle industry. Singh's suggestion? Rebates of up to $10,000 for Canadian-made electric vehicles, which would bolster domestic manufacturing and reduce the country's reliance on U.S. imports. Meanwhile, Canada's ambassador to France, Stéphane Dion, issued a pointed response to Trump's comments, calling them a violation of international norms. Dion argued that Canada is more than capable of standing on its own, and that such remarks undermine the country's sovereignty and self-determination. Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne also stepped up to defend Canada's position, stressing the critical role Canadian steel and aluminum play in the U.S. economy. He pointed out that these materials are foundational to many of the U.S.'s most important industries, such as defense, shipbuilding, and automotive manufacturing. Champagne made it clear that Canada would not back down and would continue to stand firm in defense of its workers and businesses. Catherine Cobden, the head of the Canadian Steel Producers Association, echoed this sentiment, warning that Trump's proposed 25% tariffs could have disastrous consequences for both American and Canadian industries. She said the tariffs would hurt the industries that depend on steel and aluminum, such as automotive and defense, and called for immediate retaliation if the U.S. refuses to grant exemptions for Canadian exports. Cobden's message was clear. Canada cannot simply sit back and allow these tariffs to hurt its industries without taking action. The situation escalated when the debate over these tariffs moved into the realm of national security, political maneuvering, and even Arctic defense strategies. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, made it clear that he would not just stand by and complain about these tariffs. He would take action. Poilievre proposed a bold plan to strengthen Canada's defenses in the Arctic, including building a new military base, doubling the number of Inuit Rangers, and acquiring more icebreakers. He argued that Canada needs to focus on strengthening its national defense, especially with growing concerns about Russian activity in the Arctic. Ontario Premier Doug Ford also voiced his strong opposition to the tariffs, calling them unjustified, unfair, and illegal. Ford expressed a desire to build a strong North American trade alliance based on critical resources like minerals and oil, rather than engaging in trade disputes over steel and aluminum. Ford's vision was clear. Canada should focus on building partnerships based on resources that benefit both countries, rather than allowing tensions over tariffs to tear apart long-standing economic ties. As Canada braces for potential trade retaliation, Europe is also preparing to take action. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has warned that the EU will not stand idly by in the face of these tariffs. She has made it clear that the EU is ready to respond aggressively, noting that the European Union will fully protect its businesses, workers, and consumers from what it sees as unfair trade practices. French President Emmanuel Macron, too, was quick to react, stating that Europe would fight back against these new tariffs. He warned that the tariffs could hurt both Europe and the US, with American consumers facing higher prices on goods such as European cars. Macron questioned why the US was targeting Europe in the first place, when he argued that China should be a bigger concern for the US. Meanwhile, French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian reminded the world that this isn't the first time Trump has targeted European trade. In 2018, the US imposed similar tariffs, only for the EU to strike back with retaliatory measures of its own. Now it seems Europe is preparing for another round of countermeasures, and countries like Germany are ready to respond swiftly if necessary. In the past, Europe has used trade measures that strike at America's political heart, going beyond just targeting metals. Products like bourbon whiskey, Florida orange juice, and motorcycles, items that have deep ties to US industries, have been used as leverage in previous trade disputes. With the EU's new anti-coercion instrument, Europe now has even more powerful tools at its disposal to retaliate against US tariffs, including the potential to block US companies from bidding on major European public contracts. This could be a game changer, and it sends a clear message to Washington that Europe will not tolerate being pushed around. The EU's potential response to the tariffs is not limited to just import taxes. European regulators could tighten the rules for US companies operating in the EU, imposing stricter compliance requirements and harsher penalties. US tech giants like Apple, Google, and Netflix could soon find themselves facing significant barriers to doing business in one of the most lucrative markets in the world. But it doesn't stop there. If tensions escalate, the EU could even target American pharmaceutical companies, agricultural exporters, or the chemical industry by introducing new regulatory hurdles or limiting access to European markets. The EU's message is clear. If Washington continues to escalate this trade war, Europe will make it clear that retaliation won't just come in the form of tariffs. It will come through strategic and economic pressure. As the US, Canada, and Europe face off in this high-stakes trade battle, it's clear that global trade dynamics are shifting. In response to US tariffs, Canada is looking to deepen its economic ties with the EU, further reducing its reliance on the US market. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, between Canada and the EU is at the center of this effort, providing Canadian businesses with easier access to European markets. With increasing concerns about the US's unpredictable trade policies, Canada sees this partnership as a vital way to safeguard its long-term economic security. At the same time, the EU is looking to secure a steady supply of critical raw materials from Canada, particularly those needed for clean energy technologies like electric vehicles and renewable energy infrastructure. This collaboration is essential for both sides, as Canada is one of the world's top suppliers of essential minerals, and Europe is looking to diversify its sources of supply to reduce reliance on politically unstable regions. In addition to trade, Canada and the EU are also focusing on opening up job opportunities for professionals in both regions. The goal is to make it easier for skilled workers, such as architects and engineers, to work across borders, promoting innovation and collaboration. The evolving partnership between Canada and the EU is about more than just trade. It's about creating a stronger, more resilient economic and strategic alliance. With tensions with the US on the rise, Canada is positioning itself to reduce its reliance on the US market and look to Europe for future growth opportunities. And for Europe, securing access to Canada's critical minerals and fostering deeper economic ties with one of the world's most stable economies is an essential part of its future strategy. As global trade shifts in response to the current political climate, one thing is clear. The relationship between the US, Canada, and Europe will continue to evolve, with each side working to protect its interests and secure a stable future in an uncertain world. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to give it a thumbs up.